While some of our country's biggest school districts are making this calamitous decision to remain partially closed this fall or totally closed, just online stuff, well, many private schools in those same cities and counties are going to be fully reopening. Well, that's great news for the kids fortunate enough to attend those schools, but for those stuck in the union-dominated public schools, well, it's a disaster in the making. The New York Times reporting fall reopening plans are just another way the pandemic has widened gaps in education. Private schools were able to offer much more robust online learning last spring, and research suggests that school closures have widened achievement gaps. Now, as private schools move forward with reopening plans, it's the children who most need to attend in-person school who will tend to be the least likely to do so. So instead of putting children first, counties like LA and Fairfax County, Virginia, Montgomery County, Maryland, thank you, Maryland, with teachers' unions there pushing for school closures until these ridiculous conditions are met. Well, of course, the kids are going to be hurt the most are the families of color, who often don't have the resources that the other kids have to send their kids to a private school. Well, they would, though, if they had school choice. But the teachers' unions don't want that. Neither do the Democrats shouting Black Lives Matter. And now the people they claim to care about are going to suffer. Don't black students' lives matter as well in their education? And earlier this week, Louisiana's John Bel Edwards joined the ranks of governors mandating face masks to try to slow the spread of COVID.
It is binding, it's mandatory. Those measures that are contained in that order are necessary to protect public safety and promote the welfare of the people of Louisiana. They are firmly based on the authority that I have in Louisiana law, based in the Constitution and statutory law as well.
Now, we've already showed you how the science behind the mask mandates is shaky, and that's putting it charitably. But what about the legality of these orders? Joining me now is John Eastman, Claremont Institute Senior Fellow and constitutional scholar. John, can governors just unilaterally mandate the wearing of face masks and then enforce those mandates with no law on the book, no state legislature involvement, and have these mandates go on presumably indefinitely?
Well, I'm sitting in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where we have a mask ordinance in place right now, but I'm gonna violate it here.
Oh, good. So, that's an odd mask, by the way.
Yeah, thanks. Look, the governors have an immense amount of power that's been delegated to them under emergency statutes that are of long standing to deal with contagious diseases and other emergencies. But where these governors are starting to cross the line, and I think the Louisiana case is a perfect example. I think the Attorney General down there has done a very good job pushing back. They can impose certain mandates, but they can't criminalize things. They can't deputize or commandeer private businesses to enforce the law. They can't hand out criminal sanctions or cite people. That's a legislative task, and that's a task that has not been delegated to the governor, certainly not in Louisiana and not in a lot of these other states that are doing this. The governors are not the entirety of the government on their own. They can only exercise what power has been delegated to them, and this is not one of them.
The big news today also, John, is that Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp is explicitly banning Georgia's cities and counties from ordering people to wear masks in public places. Now, he voided orders on Wednesday that at least 15, I think, local governments across the state had already established. Is that within his right?
Well, I think so, and here's what's going on. You know, clearly, if somebody has a contagious disease, and we know that, we have all sorts of authority to quarantine them. But mere speculation that somebody might have a contagious disease, and we're putting people in lockdown for 14 days until we can find out for sure, and then as soon as they venture out, you know, they might bump into somebody that had the disease, and that puts them in another 14-day lockdown. The civil liberties aspects of these things start rearing huge compared to what they're doing. And if local jurisdictions are compelling people to wear masks that they have no authority to do, then I think it is perfectly within the governor's authority to countermand those illegal mandates coming from local officials.
Yeah, of course, they're just lacerating him online. We're going to talk to him tomorrow night exclusively on The Angle. And here's what one doctor told CNN, John, about mandating masks and social distancing.
if people aren't going to distance, I'm not a constitutional scholar, but this is an emergency, and the executive branch has the ability to declare emergencies. If people aren't going to distance, aren't going to wear masks, maybe they have to be told that they need to.
John, do emergency powers go that far in this sort of situation?
These claims are coming out of the same crowd that was saying the president didn't have the power to declare an emergency down on the border and to start building a wall. So either the top executive officials have emergency powers to declare whatever they want to be an emergency and then take whatever steps they want, or there's some separation of powers constraint and constitutional constraints on the exercise of even emergency powers. And the Supreme Court has always said emergencies don't give rise to claims of power that ignore the limits of the Constitution.
Or indefinite. Or indefinite edicts.
That's the beauty of this disease, isn't it? We don't know who's got it. We don't know how long it's going to be.
Well, when the science is shaky on asymptomatic viral shedding, then it gets very murky. And last time I checked, inalienable rights didn't have an asterisk next to them for shaky science. John, thank you so much. Great to see you tonight.